right now, it is June 16th. Can we serve 5-day notices right now to tenants
Okay.
in
So
Chicago or the suburbs?
Yeah, and I'm going to tackle this kind of a bit broader picture understanding of what's going on, because there's what's called the CARES Act that is governing how federally subsidized tenants or owners, property owners, who receive some kind of federal subsidy for their property or their rent payments, etc. There's a separate set of rules for them, as there are for Illinois-based landlords and tenants. Now, so for example, property that will fall under the CARES Act would be properties where, let's say, the tenant's receiving some kind of Section 8, CHA type of funding, or even the owner of the property is receiving some kind of FHA funding or some other federally subsidized loan. Let's focus on CARES first. Under CARES, there's a separate set of requirements. July 25th is, right now as we stand here today, is the cut date for when notices can be issued for back rent, let's say from the time of, let's say March 17th, I think was when everything kind of really went into effect for COVID related. You can issue a notice on July 25th, but it cannot be a 5-day notice under the CARES Act. It actually has to be a 30-day notice. So it would look identical to a 5-day notice that you might customarily see or issue in the event of delinquent rent from a tenant, but you'd be issuing actually what is a 30-day notice. And then after that time expires, you can then proceed with filing your lawsuit, which would then take you, now you're looking at August 25th around, give or take a couple of days here or there, and when it gets served. So that's under the CARES Act, and it's really important that owners and tenants will all understand. Now, how that's going to be enforced and how the court's going to construe that is kind of up in the air as we sit here today, because whether or not, if a landlord, let's say, incorrectly sends a 5-day notice and does somehow fall under the CARES Act and didn't realize it, who raises that issue? You know, is it an affirmative defense for the tenant to raise? The court make a judicial finding on their own? We don't know the answer to that yet. So, but at least for technical purposes, for anyone sitting at home and trying to figure this out a little bit, you know, there's still a lot of unknowns, but that's the steadfast rule at this point. And again, keep an eye on whether the CARES Act and whether that order or the statute gets extended out further. But right now it's July 25th. Now, I'm going to split that. Now you have landlords who don't fall under the CARES Act. They own their property free and clear. They don't have any federal funding. The tenant is just a regular tenant who doesn't receive any kind of CHA or some kind of federal subsidy for paying their rent. They don't fall under the rules, but they're going to still follow under the Illinois statute and stay-at-home order. Okay, so under the way it's phrased at this point, under the order, you can't commence an eviction until that expires. But that doesn't mean you can't issue notices. So you could still issue a 5-day notice now, as we read it and as we understand it right now, and how the Illinois stay-at-home order reflects. But actually moving forward with filing of the eviction will still have to wait. And I think we're right now in phase 3 before phase 4 opens up. So phase 4 is going to change how, when you can file your lawsuit. And I think at this point, we're July 16th, and we're looking at June 16th, and we're looking at probably around a July 8th-ish date when everything's going to start opening up, courthouses are opening up, and we can address that issue next. I think you have some other questions about it, but hopefully that answers your questions.
That's good. So on the notices and the eviction, so people can find out if they have a federally backed loan by going to Fannie Mae, look up, or Freddie Mac, look up. And then also a dead giveaways. If you have a Section 8 tenant in your property or your building, then obviously that's a dead giveaway that you're falling under the CARES Act, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. And definitely do that due diligence before, because if you think you're not, and you issue, let's say you assume that you're not a CARES Act, you fall under the CARES Act and you issue a 5-day, you file an eviction down the road when the court's opening up, all the tenant would probably have to do at that point is raise the issue. Again, it's unclear how the judges in the court system are going to handle it, whether they're going to make a unilateral decision on that. I have some opinions about it. I'm sure there's public policy issues that are going to come into play about evictions as to whether the city is going to want to be in a position of evicting people left and right with everything that's going on. So it's considerations that are outside of this box. And as I like to say, sometimes there's kind of a rote way of doing evictions when we did it before, but all bets are off now.